Thank you, friendship, shalom, and greetings to you all. Well, you know what? So much for in like a lion, out like a lamb. The month's over. And it certainly did not go out like a lamb. Instead, it was more of a return to winter like conditions, certainly in my part of the world. Now, those who thought spring was here were made fools of. Speaking of which, we just have April Fool's Day. Now, so where does April Fool's Day come from? No one actually knows for sure, but it is suspected that it began when the Julian calendar switched to the Gregorian calendar, which is what we're on now, in 1563. And people slow to get the memo that the year's beginning had actually moved to Circumcision Day, January 1st, and instead continued to celebrate the new year with the onset of spring, became the butt of jokes. That is, April Fools. Now others put its origins actually much earlier. They take it back to Roman times, when the festival of Hilaria, not Alec Baldwin's pretend Spanish wife, but the Latin word for joyful, which was always celebrated at the end of March. Now, wherever and whenever it began, really doesn't matter. It certainly has taken on a life of its own, and it's perpetuated, of course, by the media and silly pranks that go on all around. Now, it's not a prank that you have finished putting in place the year that you want. We finished it this week. And this is actually a very special week because it's the last regular Torah reading before Passover, which begins Wednesday night, when traditionally Jews the world over would gather and celebrate the most important holiday in the Bible, freedom from fear and oppression, by having that special dinner known as the Seder. And Dan is having his first this year, and I'm sure it will be a very memorable event for him. Now, we primarily follow the Second Temple order of the service, as opposed to the original, and that's okay. That's the tradition. But I'll be showing you how to have an original Seder also. Now, the observation of the Passover Seder is actually the primary thing that people of Jewish descent strive to keep. Maybe because it's not really a religious holiday per se. There's no service. You don't go to synagogue. It's family time. It's a time we gather and reenact the story that tells the tale of freedom. It's for adults and children alike. In fact, in many ways, it's far more important for children, and it is filled with song and story, games and adventure, lessons and meaning. I'm over here, come find me. I'm hiding in the books. I see you getting closer, but I can't get you to look. You do not seem to see me, but I'm looking right at you. I am the Afikomen, and hiding's what I do. And that's all part of the games that are celebrated with Passover. And as people this week, the world over, gather to celebrate the first of the gathering festivals, Festival of Unleavened Bread, known as Passover, it's a time to celebrate and honor freedom, one of the twin festivals of freedom, the other being Easter, of course, which comes shortly thereafter. One promises freedom from sin, the other, freedom from fear. And just as people gather for both of those holidays, we gather in community, connected to all, in a showing of unity as we honor all of us. Those the same, those that are different, putting differences aside, because we form a community, a collective consciousness of seekers showing faith, any and all faith, love, any and all love. It is a true chavura, a fellowship, to express our nature of kindness, compassion, thoughts, feelings, hopes, dreams, and wishes that unites us all in this community as a spirit, Beth Ruach, sharing, bringing light at bay, keeping fear away. Even though together we're individual in our approach, each connecting in his or her or their own way. So once again, please do go ahead and invite everybody in, physically, digitally, psychically, emotionally, spiritually, to gather and share from Psalm 133, the Hine Matov. Come together. Hine Matov, Benayim, Shevet Achim Yachad. Hine Matov, Benayim, לשבת אחים גם יחד. How good and pleasant it is for brothers and sisters together. Community. 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 Together. Let's all spread love, goodwill, and fellowship to the world. Remember, friends, this is you setting aside just a little bit of sacred time in your own sacred space to honor and converse with whoever, whatever you happen to believe in, because we all believe in something. It's part of your kavanah, your intention that you put out to the universe. It's your goodwill. Goodwill and intention are the roots of what you control, of what you can correct. Your intention sets in motion everything that occurs in your lives. Let's take some time to use that intention. Send some of that goodwill, some light, some healing out to whoever you know that needs it. Healing and renewal for everybody. It just floats through space, finding those in need. So send it out for those you know, for the souls and spirits of everybody you love. Think of whoever that needs healing and renewal and love, or just plain goodwill. Focus on them. Call their names. It's not just for people. It's for our pets. It's for the earth. It is the healing of the world. The tikkun olam that's part of our spiritual genetic makeup. We have to help heal the world. We must each do what we can to improve and change our own little corner of the universe, because as we change ourselves, we change the conditions of our lives. Part of that healing is what we send thoughts and energy for health and renewal and goodwill for everybody. They don't have to be sick. It's for those in our hearts, those in our minds. Let's all send energy out for people in need everywhere. Special thoughts and prayers for those who are in medical situations. We pray for those who need prayer, because prayer is an effective method of communication with God, and it has a power that we don't understand. Okay? We entreat, we help ourselves and others. We don't have to know them. We want health. We want recovery. We want good life for everybody around us. Bonnie, Ryan and Barry, for Lisa and Jenna, for the Cardinal, Snoopy, Jamie and Cheryl, for Doria and Kay, for the Builder and the D-Man, for Gloria, Fern, for Johnny and Connie and Ronnie, for Maria, and Nina and Danny and Tal. For those suffering and in need, let's not forget to include the familiars of our lives, all our sacred animal friends, everywhere. For everybody you know in need, for the whole world, for Devora. Friends, it is the kindness, the healing wishes, the goodwill. It's the love we all send out. It just circles the world, finding those in need. So thank you, each of you, for all you do, for all you care. Because the world is a world of spirit. And spirit, my friends, never dies. Avotenu Makor Chabracha Limotenu. May the source of strength bless the one that's before us. Help us find the courage. Make our lives a blessing. The renewal of body. The renewal of spirit. Let us say, Amen. Isha Barak, let us all have our spirits renewed. It's a great prayer for healing, because we call upon God to heal as He's healed before. Isha Barak, may He who blessed, because all healing's a blessing. Let's all send and receive healing and renewal energy. It's all in our own efforts to love, to share, to care, to grow. Now, we began Leviticus last week, and it introduced the whole field of sacrifice. And to most people, it's very foreign, and it should be. They stopped over 2,000 years ago. They're misunderstood. This week, we're going to read tzav, command. It, too, is about sacrifices. Now, it does end with the beginning of a story, that of the first ordination. But I'm getting ahead of myself. It said there's very few stories in the book of Leviticus. Now, the purpose of sacrifice, it wasn't to kill, but to recognize that an animal's life was sacred. I know it doesn't seem that that's what it is, but that's actually what it was designed for. The order of the book of Leviticus itself may have contributed to the misunderstanding of sacrifice. It deals with sacrifices that go to the priest first. It does not get to the food sacrifice until well into it, like Leviticus 17 actually. Most sacrificed animals are eaten by the persons who bring the animals to the altar. And there's also a second group of sacrifices, which involve the ritual slaughter of an animal that's not for consumption by the person who brings the sacrifice. Rather, the meat is eaten by the priest or it's entirely burnt. Now, these sacrifices pretty well all relate to guilt and expiation. The introduction of law results in the introduction of the violations of the law. So besides addressing matters of punishment, compensation, execution, the system actually requires some means of dealing with an individual's feelings of guilt and with public condemnation. That's achieved through the sacrificial system, including sacrifices for unwitting violations, accidentally, by individuals or the community, and sacrifices for various other feelings on the part of the offerer. The system that provides grounds for guilt also provides a mechanism for expiation and forgiveness. Now, friends, sacrifice is the only mechanism for forgiveness in the entire book of Leviticus. There is no indication that one can appeal to the Lord's mercy, His grace, His kindness for atonement. Indeed, the words repentance, mercy, grace, kindness do not occur anywhere in the book of Leviticus. We just continue to read about more sacrifices. We learn about different sacrifices, which is why you'll find this is the book for the priest. It is a handbook for them. Now we go back to that first and one of the most important of the sacrifices being the burnt offering. Leviticus 6:2. Command Aaron and his sons, saying, this is the instruction for the burnt offering. Something is burning in. Are you aware? Something is the matter, baby. There's smoke in your head. Are you still my friend? Show me a sign. Is the love in your heart for me? Turn it blind. I can feel it in the night, in the night, in the night when I think of you. I can feel it in the light, in the light, in the light, and it's gotta be true. You can't live by bread alone. You won't be satisfied. You can't roll away that stone if your hands are tied. Now notice the instructions are for the priesthood. It's not for the people. And unlike the sacrifices that are eaten, the burnt offering, which literally means the one that goes up, is completely burned. It's purely a priestly function. The citizenry did not do this, only the priest. Now, after the burnt offering, we find out about the nature of the altar, the clothes of the priest. We get a grain offering. That's when salt is introduced to bread, which is still done by many people on the Sabbath. But this bread was a special bread. The grain offering bread was to be without leaven. There's a holiday specifically dedicated to eating this bread called the Festival of Unleavened Bread. The one coming up, otherwise known as Passover. There is a connection. Now we get a sin offering, calling for an animal sacrifice. We get a guilt offering, another animal. We get a peace offering. It's a fuller offering. It's another grain-based offering, but this time there is leaven, but also with an animal. Meat and grain together. Perhaps the peace offering is more like a thanksgiving than a forgiveness. And there's some additional overall instructions. No consumption of fat from sheep, goat, or ox. No blood, period. No carcass. Now, in the absence of sacrifice, other means of atonement have risen in importance over the years. Notably, the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, has become the most sacred and widely observed holiday, whereas in the Torah, it was far and away Passover. And Passover is that long evening dedicated to taking turns reading from a book, supposedly to talk about the Exodus, which actually, when you read the book, barely gets mentioned. It's a different kind of night. It's a very important night. It's a very fun night. Ma nishtana. What is so different? Halala hazeh. On this night, Mikol Halelo. From all of the nights, Ma nishtana. Halala hazeh. Mikol Halelo. Halala hazeh. You know what? It is a night devoted to asking questions. I remember Passover and the evening Seder are purely a friend and family affair, built on story, sharing, and teaching. And we're going to be sharing one very soon, coming up in a week. Now, it's been nearly 2 millennia since the temple sacrifices ended. So what can substitute for sacrifice as something that can give people some of the things that sacrifices provided? A feeling of fulfillment, closeness to God, sacredness of life, a link to a nation's history. I'm going to offer up my suggestion because there's a part of the Passover festival that connects to this in a deep and profound way. And it is the bizarre section of the Haggadah that deals with the 4 sons. Now, the 4 sons seem to be in a bit of a parallel universe, sitting at the table, talking, probably not unlike many of your own Seders. When I think of the sons, I'm actually reminded of the famous Sophocles riddle of the Sphinx from Oedipus. What creature wakes up on 4 legs, walks through the afternoon on 2, and settles down in the evening on 3? Well, the answer, of course, is man himself. We are born crawling on 4 legs. We get up and walk through most of our lives on 2, and towards the end, we hobble on a cane making 3. The riddle's answer speaks to the nature of the human condition, and the teaching of the 4 sons serves a very similar purpose. It's not about a physical journey through life. It is about a spiritual one. Not just 4 views of God, but serve as 4 interrelated phases of spiritual development, which is really intrinsic to our humanity. They are the wise, the wicked, the simple, and the son who does not know how to ask. Each asks a question, kind of, during this evening. The wise son wants to know what are the laws that God has commanded us, represents an advanced stage of spiritual development. In this stage, the simple son develops into a man or woman who has struggled with faith, perhaps rejected, confronted part or all of his or her relationship to God, and has returned to freely embrace tradition from a more mature point of view. The wise son says, I want to know what is required of me in detail because it's of personal importance. I already know why I should be doing this. His heart is whole in acceptance of the Lord, but in a more mature way than the simple son. He thinks, I have been around the block. I've asked many questions. It's not my first rodeo. I feel secure in my wish to embrace my God and his ways. Now, the wicked son differentiates from the path of sincere faith by saying, in essence, why are you doing this? I'm not part of this. I require myself to assess whether this is for me or not. Differentiation is a well-known process in human development, common in teens, but it's extremely important for adults as well. It's the edge that helps us to mature. Spiritual development, differentiation is a critical component to a faith embraced freely, and not just by habit or necessity, but free desire. Now, the simple son is the committed but simple practitioner. He asks his father, what's this about? What needs to be done? And his father tells him just as it is. From a developmental point of view, this is a sincere but simple spirituality. Tell me what God wants and I'll comply. He actually doesn't have to understand in order to do it. The simple son represents the spirituality of a young person or an adult who tends towards a dependent posture in relation to authority. He may be a good boy, but he's probably not free. does what he's told, doesn't question it. Now, the son who doesn't know how to ask, that's the person who is ignorant of the divine role in saving the soul from slavery. Asking questions about spiritual matters is beyond them. This person may be an infant, a child, or an individual who knows little of religious or spiritual life. And I know plenty of people like that, or an adult who's simply given up caring. Each of these four sons is a character that speaks to the dynamics of faith in all its vitality. The wicked son keeps us honest, just as the simple son and the son who doesn't know how to ask have their roles at some point in our lives. When you don't care, you just go along because that's what you're supposed to do. But these four also, like the Sphinx, represent us in the stages of our own growth in the spiritual journey. We begin not knowing and then become simple and begin to learn to do. The wicked son, like all of us teenagers, rebels, and as we mature, we come to understand that we are the principal architects of our own level of spiritual understanding. We can set aside our ego and acknowledge that a greater power exists. We're just a part of it. And of course, there's two other voices, neither of whom are mentioned. One is the father, who speaks to the four sons, and the other is the child who has lost faith completely and therefore has no interest in spiritual pursuit. And that is the child of this time that we must bring back, as people have lost the desire to have spiritual essence in life. Now, this entire discourse serves two other functions as well. It became the means of keeping the fifth commandment, honoring our parents, and in so doing we ask our Father these questions so that we can learn. And the other is it actually fulfills the instructions of the Talmud to teach our children. That is how this religion has survived all these thousands of years and has stayed the same in so many areas. Fathers teach their children, generation after generation. You who are on the road must have a code that you can live by, and so become yourself, because the past is just a goodbye. Teach your children well, their father's hell can slowly go by. We teach our children. It is the most important thing that we continue to do. Not all father-son relationships are like the Abraham-Isaac one. For the most part, the role of father as teacher has kept the people alive. Yes, my friends, the world is sacred. So is everything in it. Express your gratitude, light a candle, make a wish. Celebrate your life and the lives of those you love. Share your feelings with them. Live free, be free. Honor your freedom, be well, be happy, be blessed. Share and honor the light, all who live in the light, and continue to shine. Continue to send everybody you know goodwill and love. Pray for peace and freedom for everyone, and end to terror and hatred. Remember, friends, we're a community. We learn together. We celebrate each other. We love each other. We share the ride together, men and women equally. Let's send our love, not fear, out to the world. Let's send out peace, harmony, goodwill, and healing to all who need it. Please do learn to forgive and learn to love. Open your hearts. Honor the relationships of your life. Tell those you love that you love them, and take advantage of the time you have. Enjoy the journey. We take twists and turns in the patterns that weave through the fabric of our lives and our efforts to grow, to learn, to be, to love. So please do love. Now bless you all. Have a fantastic week. A week of love and light, a week of peace, a week of miracles. Examine your intentions. Use them to imprint your will on the universe, because we set in motion everything that happens in our lives. It is our intention, our cause, our effect. It's all linked. Now you have time to forgive and be forgiven. You have the knowledge of what's good and bad, so acknowledge what you've done wrong. To yourself, to God, to any person you've wronged. Ask forgiveness. But do so with sincerity, with accountability, with vulnerability. Forgive those who've hurt you as you learn to be forgiving and compassionate, because the secret of forgiveness, compassion, and peace is acceptance. Can you accept yourself, other people in the world as they are? Can you accept life as it is without trying to control it? If you do, you can experience the peace that acceptance brings. So do not stop your journey, my friends. Do not stop moving towards your promised land. Keep on dreaming. Keep on being, keep sharing, keep shining, keep teaching. Keep spreading joy and goodwill. Do not follow fear, follow faith, follow love. They're always in front of you. I have faith in the principle of love. Act with purity of heart and mind. Despise none, defraud none, hate none. Cherish all. Honor every child of God, every creature of the earth. May all people know peace in this year. May you nurture kindness and love everywhere you go, and work to be present in the body. Expand your heart, quiet your mind, because the deepest source of real power lies in consciousness and your ability to be mindful, to be aware, to be present in all of life's circumstances. Make the most of your time in life. Continue to touch and transform the lives around you, because you're never alone. You're forever blessed with the ability to bring blessings to everybody you meet. Your words are your power to transform energy, to love, to bless. So be generous with them, because as you bless others, you bless yourself. And love with the heart, because we're all part of a greater whole and we're all connected. Embrace love, not fear. Forgiveness, not anger. And be there for someone, because someone will always be there for you, whether you know it or not. Continue to explore faith and belief in what they mean to you. Never accept shame as a natural state, because whatever you feel, others have felt. Whatever you've experienced, others have experienced, because we share together. We learn together. We help each other, because we're each of us simply trying to find love and acceptance and support. We all have or could have that special someone in our lives, so find them. Tell them what they mean. Keep forgiving those you need to forgive, and keep asking forgiveness from those you need to ask forgiveness of. Continue your journey. Because we're all on a journey to find peace, freedom, satisfaction, and sometimes we find it. Sometimes we don't. Remember, friends, the people of the Exodus were not who we think of. They were not an identifiable group of practitioners. There was no religion that we're aware of that they followed. They're learning. They're learning to put a world together. We think of them being like us, that they practiced a set of religious or spiritual observances like we do. But we're in the midst of reading about them being given a code of laws, coming together under ritual, spiritual, moral, and ethical rules, holy days to observe, social behavior to follow. These were people who were simply seeking freedom. And the surest way to freedom is to tell the truth. To you, to God, to others. Does it matter just who you are, where you go, or where you've been? Open your eyes into your heart. Look, the whole world is shaking. Can't you feel it? Tell the truth. Tell me, who's been fooling you? Tell the truth. Who's been fooling? Who? We all get fooled at times, my friends. But freedom is yours. It's in your journey. Your journey is there for you. So never stop. Keep moving. Now, thank you for joining me. Have a great week. Please keep exercising forgiveness. Be thankful, be gracious, be kind, be loving. Believe in yourself and in love. Continue to spread a little goodwill to the world. And get ready to celebrate the Festival of Freedom coming in the middle of next week. Get ready to be free, to tell your story, to teach, and to be an example of freedom for those around you. Hold on to your freedom. Never forget, you are the miracle in someone else's life. Shabbat shalom and blessings to you all. And I'll speak to you soon.